Okay, so I want to talk about triads today. So with a triad, think of a triad like this. Let's say you have a major chord. That major chord is really comprised of three notes. And those three notes, let's say a C major chord, right? We play a C like this on guitar. But you know, it's really only three notes. We just have it on guitar. We tend to stack them over and over again. So the triad is just the three notes that really make up the chord. And for a C chord, that would be C, E, and G. And if you look at the C chord here, you have C, E, G, C, and E. So like I said, we just kind of keep stacking these. But you can also just play the triad, and it has a certain sound. There's a lot of different ways you can think of triads. One is they help you kind of understand the fretboard a little bit better. But the other way, too, is that triads can be really useful if you're playing with someone else and they're hammering away at a C chord, and, you know, why should you be doing the same thing? That really doesn't make a lot of sense. So you could be playing, maybe a triad up here for a C chord or somewhere else and fill out that sound a little bit nicer. So let's break down where our triads are. Let's start with the C major one. Okay, so if we take our C major chord, like we know right here, you already really have your triad built in. So we're just going to talk about the E, B, and G strings here for our triad today, okay? And keep it simple, all high. So with your C chord, you can really just leave that first finger and just play that E, B, and G string, and you've got your triad. We've got G, C, and E right there. So that'd be your first one. The next one would be kind of based off if you ever play your C major chord barred with your root on the 3rd fret of your A. That right there already kind of has what we're going to use. We're just going to zoom in. A lot of these triads, you may already know the chord, but we're just going to zoom in even further just to get the triad from it. So what we're going to do is 3rd fret of your E and then the 5th fret of your B and your G. Like that. Okay, cool. So we've got one, and now we've got two. Now, the third one, if you think about a C chord and maybe you would play it as a bar chord rooted on your E string, you play like this. Well, let's zoom in again, and we're just going to take the top part. So we're going to go 8 on E, 8 on B, and 9 on the G, and we get that. It's very nice, very pretty. Now, how do you know where these are going to be? So let's talk about how you can plug these in. Some people just memorize the shapes. Other people think about their bar chords or other chords it's associated with. I tend to think the easiest way is to just know your note names. So, for this shape, I always think of the root is on the B string. For this shape, I always think the root is going to be right there on the 3rd string, your G, right? And then for this one, I always think that root's right there on your high E string. So, it's just how you want to kind of do it. But now the cool part is we really only have 3 because the 4th one is really going to repeat where we started. So we'll just kind of play that 12, then the 13, and then the 12. And you can see that's kind of really based on that D shape that you've probably already known. So we got C, C. Now, let's look at G. So the order of these will always kind of be the same, but it's where they start. So that's why I think learning where the roots are might be the easiest way to do it. So with a G, the first one we're going to do is going to be right there on think about your G chord as a bar chord. So we're going to play the 3rd fret of your E and your B, and then go to the 4th fret of your G. Boom, we've got our G triad. All right, now the G triad consists of G, B, and D. So right here we have a B, a D, and a G. All right, cool. So then the next one, if you remember, this is going to be the same order. It's going to be kind of that D shape. And that's going to be right on your B string. So I'm going to think 7th fret, 8th fret, and 7th fret. And then the last one is going to be up here. And that's going to be kind of like a bar chord rooted on that A string. And we're going to think 10, 12, and 12. 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 10, 12, and 12 Now the next just repeats over again. Right, and we keep going. So, G, G, G. Okay, so now we have our major chords out of the way. Let's talk about a minor chord shape so that you kind of are familiar with how these might work as well, because you're going to want to be able to move between different major and minor chords. Let's take A minor would be a really good one to start with. So if you have A minor, you know the A minor chord like this, so we're just going to do the same kind of trick from the C chord, and we're just going to pull the last three. So we're going to go open E, first fret of your B, and the second fret of your G. Your A minor triad is A, C, and E. We got it. We're covered. Now, the next one is going to be on the 5th fret, and we're just going to play all fives. So 5E, 5B, 5G. Just like that. Now, if we learned anything from the majors, we know there's only one more left. And the last one is kind of based on like a D minor shape. So if you know your D minor chord down here, the root is on your B string. So you're just going to be thinking about where that A is. And that A is all the way up on the 10th fret of your B. So we're going to go 8E, 10B, 9G. And that's our last A minor chord. Now, I would like to say this kind of the same way the C chord went. Sometimes when you have the open strings, when you start your triads here, it can feel a little weird. So just remember that that means we would need to plug that 12th fret if we went up an octave. So if we went up one more time, we're going to think about that 12, 13, and 14. And that would give you your highest triad right there, starting over with your pattern. So A minor. And these can be really good, too, to even make little parts, maybe little riffs if someone's playing an A minor chord. You know, instead of you just playing that A minor chord, too, maybe you make a little part out of it. You know, these are the things that kind of really make something a little bit more musical and kind of stand out versus just, you know, two people kind of hammering away at the same thing. So, you know, get creative with this, and you can really bounce in between different ideas, and this can also really help your lead playing. So instead of just always thinking of, you know, a scale pattern, a lot of times you'll see the actual chord right there where you are, and so you know, oh, well, there's a G chord right here in the song, so I can just play that right there. And you can also use these as passing tones between chords. A really common trick would be to take your minor chord. Let's say, like what I was playing in the opening, it was G to C. You would take that G chord, and you could take the whole step above it and play the minor of it. So a whole step above G would be A, and so we're going to play A minor. And we can kind of use this as a lick, a little feel, or even like a little walk, go into another G voicing. So we can go G, G, A minor, G. And that can sound really nice to kind of give you a little extra flavor. Now, a great example of the song I just played earlier, we had a 4 chord. Then if you have that G, then you could go to your C right here. And the same rule applies. We could then use our minor from there. So let's say a whole step above C would be D. So we're going to try to play a D minor. Well, the closest D minor would be right there on that 10, 10, 10. So that's kind of a nice little feel you can use. So you got your G, right in time for the switch to the 4 chord, your C chord, and then, right? So that's kind of a tasty little thing. Get creative with it. There's a lot of different ways you can use these triads, and there's a lot more, of course, on the guitar. These are just your E, B, and G, but I think it's a good place to start, and to start understanding why you need to know note names, why you need to understand the patterns you see on the neck, and everything in between. I hope that makes some sense. So if you have any questions, just let me know.